Welcome in to episode 20 of the Bleav in Twins podcast on the Bleav Network. I am your host, Anders Pryor, for the second decade of a time hosting this show, alongside my wonderful co-host, analyst, and Twins expert, Zac Tipton, who is currently in the midst of a fantasy football nightmare scenario and has been very, very public about it and adamant.
Oh, it is bad. My team, I'm not kidding you. Like when I say my fantasy team is the worst, my fantasy is the worst fantasy team I've ever built in my fantasy football career. It's not an understatement. Like my teams are usually pretty solid. I usually find the good guy. Like I find a good team usually, and if not, I'm usually pretty good at getting to the waiver wire pretty quickly and finding those pieces that can help me. But for some reason in this league, I just haven't been able to do that. I've had a lot of issues finding guys. I can't get any waiver wire pickups really. I can't really get my drafting has been rough because, to be honest, okay, so I had the first pick. And obviously when you're the first pick in that draft, you're taking CMC. Yep. So I had CMC first overall, which was always a little scary for me. I'm like, I don't know if I really want to go CMC. I kind of was honestly thinking about taking CeeDee Lamb first overall, which probably would have been a great decision, honestly. However, I took CMC. That wasn't great. The turn comes around, and I get Davante Adams. And that's been amazing as well. That's about as great as you can look there. Then I also get Drake London on the turn, and I'm like, that's fine.
That's
Drake
been fine
London's
so
good
far.
piece, and Drake London's been basically the only piece I have on my entire team. Then I come around to the next turn, and this is where things get fun. With the 4th round pick, I took Mark Andrews because I was like, I want to get a tight end now. Let's get my tight end. Mark Andrews is a great steal here in the 4th round.
This is how the way that Zac described it, which I thought was priceless, was he said 4 out of 5 of my first 5 picks are either injured or Mark Andrews, as if that's essentially the same thing.
It basically has been at this point. You're basically just expecting a goose egg at this point from Mark Andrews every week. So anyway, so I get Mark Andrews, and then my fifth pick at the turn was Ramondre Stevenson, who has been okay so far and has been good as my number 1 running back. But now he is out this week. So that means my roster for this league is, and I don't know why I pulled up the wrong league. Oops. My roster for this league is my starting QB, Kyler Murray. My 2 running backs, Tanks Bigsby and Javonte Williams are my 2 running backs, which might actually work out because ETN might be out actually, I think ETN might be out this week. I'm not sure. I think he's healthy though. He is healthy. But then my wide receivers, Drake London and Ladd McConkey are my 2 wide receivers. My tight end is still Mark Andrews because there's not a single person on waivers I can pick up to replace Mark Andrews at this point. And then my flex player is Alexander Madison because I am
which isn't awful. That's not terrible.
It's pretty bad.
He catches passes. It could be worse.
It could be worse. But Alexander Madison's my flex. Yeah. And then my bench is just terrible. It is bad. I have Davante Adams and Ramondre Stevenson on my bench. Jordan Addison is kind of my saving grace here, but he's on bye this week, so that doesn't help. Demario Douglas, Jalen Naylor, and Jordan Whittingham are on my bench. I don't even know who Jordan Whittingham is. He
picked him up.
Yeah, well, he had 1 good week for the Rams, and I'm like, he had 10 targets for the Rams, and they are very hurt at wide receiver. Maybe he might do something. So we'll see if that works out. Doubt it, but see. They gotta have somebody like Puka on their team at some point, right? So yeah, that is my fantasy team this week, who is playing against just a really good team in general, and I'm screwed. But it's fine. We're okay. We're living the life that is having your worst team ever in fantasy football. So it's fantastic, Anders, how we Yeah, it's been rough. It's rough right now.
I'm 4-1. So
yeah, I know you are. We don't need to talk about that.
yeah.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. We're alive. We're alive.
Not sellers yet. Zach and I
no, we're sellers. I'm begging. I'm begging to sell this point.
Wow, jeez. Okay.
Anyone want Drake London? I'll just take. At this point, I'll just take anything that includes depth. That's all I need at this point.
Jeez. Zach and I were talking before. We have a very particularly strong piece of Twins news to discuss today. Before we get into that, Zach and I were talking. So I have not seen any of the new starting 5 series on Netflix with the basketball players. I've seen some clips. I've seen some pretty cool clips. I'm not going to lie. There are some aura points being gained.
Anthony Edwards is amazing.
Yeah.
Anthony Edwards is
So I don't know which episodes include which clips. So Zach, because there are some moments that I love from the show. Zach, can you describe what you've seen so far?
So what Aaron's trying to do is he's trying not to spoil it for me. Basically, what I watched is the 2 intro episodes. So like they do an introduction to each of the players where they go to their houses, they kind of show things, and then they did do a couple of games. So for example, they showed the Celtics Timberwolves game with Anthony Edwards talking crap about Jason Tatum at the end of it. I'm pretty sure you've probably seen that clip floating around. So that one is there. And then the Domantas Sabonis clips. Honestly, they kind of don't show a lot of Domantas Sabonis, which I think is okay. I don't really have that much interest in watching Domantas Sabonis.
He's the weakest of the 5. Who is it? It's
Tatum, LeBron, Jimmy Butler, Anthony Edwards, and Domantas Sabonis. Which again, I think Domantas Sabonis is a great guy. It's from the early clips of it. I think he's cool, but I don't have tons of interest in watching Domantas Sabonis parts. Sure. I'm really there to see like what Tatum says, and then also, Anthony Edwards and LeBron are both 2 pretty good people to watch. Honestly, I kind of. Well, I mean, LeBron is just LeBron at this point. You kind of know what you're going to get with him.
Right.
But the Tatum stuff, and then obviously, I think Jimmy Butler is the most hilarious guy in the world. And so watching Jimmy Butler clips has been awesome.
Did your experience watching this happen to include a Joe Mazzulla interview?
Possibly.
Okay. So I'll say it. So he just has – I love Mazzulla. I love like his just like the demeanor, and I think it's weird because he comes across as very young and very kind of he shows his age in a good way, but he's really like I don't know. There are adjectives that I want to use to describe him that I don't even know how to what to really say. But he has this moment where like the interviewer asks him, it kind of seems like Tatum sort of has to deal with.
I just saw that one. I don't know if I've seen that clip yet, but honestly, it's not that big of a spoiler if it does.
He has to deal with extra criticism, and then Joe Mazzulla, like half a second later, goes gets to deal with extra criticism. That was just so cool. Like just the sincerity of his voice, and like I thought that was just really cool. And I thought it was really like kind of spot on with his character. He is one of the cool things about the Celtics, like being as like highly covered of a team that they have as they have been, has been that I think he has had the opportunity to kind of show who he really is. Because, his first year he was an interim. And so you kind of have to just like do essentially as much damage control as you can, especially with the kind of the ugly nature of how Udoka departed. And then year 2, we kind of really got who he was. And this kind of just like hyper fixated, hyper locked in guy. It doesn't come across as like an old grizzly sort of, conservative, like focus on everything guy, but just like really like authentically and genuinely obsessed. And I know that the word like obsessed kind of gets thrown around a lot. He does it in a way that I think for his age is just super refreshing, and I love him. And so I thought that was a really almost like funny moment with how just like on character it was. But and then obviously, yeah, like you said, the LeBron stuff, I've seen clips of that, and yeah, it's exactly what you'd expect.
Yeah, no, LeBron stuff is kind of at this point uninteresting to me. The Anthony Edwards stuff is kind of when I'm there to watch. I want to see what Anthony Edwards is like behind the scenes, and obviously I know a lot of what he's like on the scenes. But man, I think he's so fun to watch. He's such an awesome person, and I just love seeing him. I love watching him. So no, I love it. I love Anthony Edwards. I'm a big Anthony Edwards guy, so that's been fun to watch his clips and stuff like that. I'm hoping to see more of that. Obviously, I think I'm assuming we'll be able to see. I'm assuming this show, as it leads up through the episodes, will get progressively more realizing that like Anthony Edwards is a star, and they're gonna probably showcase him a lot later on in this show.
Yeah.
I assume because that's what they did with like quarterback. Like they stopped showing Marcus Mariota after a while, and they started really only showing Mahomes and Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
Which was probably the smart move on their part.
Yeah.
And obviously those were the two. And then the same thing with the wide receivers. Like Justin Jefferson's great, but the issue was he was injured for almost the entire year. So they didn't show a ton of good Justin Jefferson because he was injured for almost the entire year. So I'm assuming like we'll get to a point where like Domantas Sabonis probably won't get that much screen time, and Jimmy Butler will probably get a ton because he's hilarious. Anthony Edwards will get a ton because he becomes a superstar this year.
Right.
And then LeBron stuff will always just get a lot of time because it's LeBron. And then Tatum will obviously get a ton because he's the NBA champion. So I think it'll kind of weed out a lot of Domantas Sabonis towards the end of this. I think we'll probably end up getting to like just those four. And I wouldn't be surprised if we don't get a ton of LeBron towards the end either.
Before we get to twin stuff, who do you want to kind of see if they were to do this again? Who are some players that you would want to see kind of on this show?
I think one of like Brunson or Josh Hart. I think Brunson probably because he's the star of New York now, and I think he's kind of taking on that role of like he is the king of New York almost. Yeah. And so I think from a media perspective, doing it with him would be awesome. Yep. And I think he would be a really cool guy to follow on. So I assume Brunson will probably get chosen in the next one just because of the media, that attention that New York gets. Yep. I think Brunson will get that chance next time if they do this again. Luka would be a really fun one to get. I think Luka would be a really, really cool piece to add to that. With him being younger and, his team being younger.
Kind of an international perspective.
International perspective because they didn't do besides Zamontis, but he's American too. So like he wasn't really right. He is American. So I'd say Luka would be there. Another guy that I would personally like to see is Shea.
Yeah. I want to see his closet. Like I want to like hear him like really talk through that stuff.
SGA would be one as well that I think I could see.
Yep.
Honestly, I'd love to have them keep Anthony Edwards in it and do like another Anthony Edwards season where they just keep him in there because I think he's kind of risen to this stardom that is like insane. And to see now like this year, see what that is like now that he's like a possible face of the league type of guy, I think bringing back Anthony Edwards for another season would be interesting. And I think he's a guy you could do it because he's so young and he doesn't really have like I think you could bring him back for 4. And then the 5th guy, I feel like they'd probably go with like an older veteran. So I'd assume like if they don't want to do LeBron, I could see them bringing in like a KD or like a not that if they do Luka, they want to do Kyrie, but KD, or what other teams are good right now that they could do? Like they could go for like a Giannis. Right. I think a Giannis one would probably be interesting. Maybe he would do it.
I would rather watch a a Giannis one than a Dame one, probably.
Yeah, I think it'd be I think those two. I could see KD, but I think for me, like the 5, if you had to give me 5, I'm saying Giannis, Luka, Ant again, Shea, and then Jalen Brunson. I think are the 5 that I'd probably go with there.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else that you would add or take away from that?
No. So everyone you mentioned, I think, is great. I think Brunson was someone that I had thought of. I think doing one, and I'm not even sure he wouldn't even necessarily say yes to it. I think doing one on Wembanyama would be cool because
that's fair. No, that's fair.
Because he has generated this very kind of public persona as this like very like quiet and sort of academic person, and I think that that's really sort of unique. And I do think that that would be a pretty kind of interesting thing to follow. I also do think that Devin Booker would be another interesting one because I do think that he,
like I said, if they don't do KD, I think they'd probably could do Devin Booker.
Right.
He'd be an interesting one
because he is very kind of relevant in excuse me. He has.
Oh, I just thought of one.
Yeah.
Continue. I was thinking Tyrese Maxey would be a guy that I would possibly.
Sure. Yeah.
Because he's like that young guard for Philly. And I don't think Joel Embiid would do it, and I also wouldn't want to watch Joel Embiid do it.
I would rather watch a Maxey one than an Embiid one.
So I would say Maxey would be a good one as well, man. But I think for me, for sure's would be like I want to see Luka and Jalen Brunson probably be the 2 for sure's for me.
Booker would be cool. I'd rather kind of see Booker than KD because like Booker, like I think he is in that sort of like fringe like celebrity status in a lot of ways. So I think that would kind of make it kind of a very kind of captivating sort of thing.
So for me though, that's where I'm at there is I think for me, the first sure's I'd want to see next year would be a Brunson and a Luka. And I would be okay, Devin Booker. I think Devin Booker. I'm not a big Devin Booker fan, but also there's just so many young stars in the league. Like Tyrese Halliburton would be a good one in my opinion. I think he's kind of rising to stardom in the league pretty quickly as well. Especially with that run Indiana had last year.
Who would you not want to see? Who would you not?
Would I not want to see? LeBron again, which I'm sure the NBA media would probably do.
You know who I would definitely not want to see?
Joel Embiid.
No, sorry. I was going to say, I do not want to see LaMelo Ball do one of these things.
Oh, God, no. That's a great idea. For me, though, I think like, Joel Embiid, absolutely not. I would also say, no offense to him, but I think he's kind of boring. Like, if we're not going like a star of a team, like Lauri Markkanen, no, thank you. Don't really want to.
Actually, I just thought of another one. I actually think that Zion would be pretty interesting to follow.
I don't know, man. I don't think so. I wouldn't want to get a Zion one.
He's a very big personality, and also,
you know what I hope they don't do?
What
is Ja Morant? Don't
do Ja Morant. I mean. In theory, I think it would be super entertaining, but like in practice, you could probably
would be disastrous. It'd probably be disastrous. Yeah. Donovan Mitchell, I also don't really have a ton of interest in.
Yeah, he doesn't come across. Yeah, he's not someone that I would really have a ton of interest in.
I'm trying to think else. Like honestly, Nikola Jokic, obviously not for me. I would not have a ton of interest in. Although the country, like the outside of basketball life, would be kind of interesting to see how much he just loves outside of basketball life versus inside of basketball life. That whole dynamic of him would be kind of interesting. But I'd say probably not to Jokic.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where I'm at there. And then James Harden. Please don't give me James Harden or Russ.
No,
either one of those two, please. But anyway.
Zach, let's get into Twins.
The most important probably news of our show here.
Yeah.
Maybe ever.
Arguably one of the more kind of pivotal moments we've had on this show, period.
100%. I
So
think this is huge because, like, when I saw the notification yesterday morning, I was in shock. But then it also makes sense.
so Do Hwang Park, who, as if you guys don't know, is MLB.com's kind of main Twins kind of beat reporter. So the he was I believe he was the first to break it. So the Pohlad family, the owner of the Minnesota Twins, has announced that they are that they plan to explore options of buyers for the Twins. They plan to sell the team and are looking for potential suitors. That is starting to become a sort of proactive operation for them.
Actually, the person that broke it was Bobby Nightingale. Bobby Nightingale was the person that broke it.
Got it. Okay.
But anyway, no, yeah. So yeah, no, that's sorry, continue.
No, it's fine. Sorry. My screen was a little weird there for a second. I don't know what happened. I froze, I think. So I totally sorry, you're good. But I mean, Zach, this was when you and I were talking about the sort of ins and outs of who we thought was going to keep their job and who wasn't. Ownership was never really something that we had thoroughly discussed. So I guess kind of before we get to implications, both immediate and long term, kind of just your sort of broad brush general reaction to this headline.
Hallelujah. Let it be thy name. No, I'm ecstatic. Goodbye, Pohlad. Goodbye. Please let the door hit you on the way out. And then no, it's just what he did last year, completely destroying our payroll, and then now saying he's going to sell the team after already destroying that payroll and kind of ruining our one really good chance of making a run for a World Series. He deserves as much hatred as he's getting, and he's getting a lot. If you've gone on Twitter all and search like Pohlad and Twins forums and Twins forums, you'll see that people are ecstatic about this and also just like truly against Pohlad, which is awesome, and I love it. And I'm ecstatic that this is happening. I think there's a lot of great things that can come from this. I think we can finally get. For me, I never thought Pohlads are ones that truly cared about actually winning. They just care about the business. They never really, to me, cared about the winning of it. And so for me, this is a pretty. I'm excited to possibly bring in somebody that does care about the team and does care about actually winning. And so yeah, that's kind of my first thoughts when I saw this.
No, I expected from you at least a positive reaction based off of just previous conversations that we had. Obviously, we've dove through a couple times on this show, even you kind of bringing in some quotes last episode that even though I thought were sort of less ruthless than maybe some other subpar ownership groups in around the league, I think the intentions of them were still, I think you and I both agreed, were very tone deaf and sort of just kind of facile and strange. So I agree with this. I agree with your precedent that this is a very net positive kind of, maybe not, because again, this will be a kind of thing that you and I will be discussing throughout the off season, which is obviously good for us because it will give us content to think about. Obviously curious to see how long this process will take and what potential bidders
I have some ideas, but I'll wait until we actually get to like a segment where we actually talk about that. But I have some ideas for who I think could be possible suitors.
I would love to hear your thoughts on that. I'm just quickly Googling the Twins are currently evaluated
At 1.5 billion.
It's 1.5 billion. Okay.
Yeah, $1.5 billion what the Twins are valued at. So from what I'm hearing, and that just includes reading and stuff, from what I'm hearing, I'm thinking of like there might be like 3 possible suits. I'm thinking of like 3 different people that I've heard, or like 3 or 4 names. So one is the Davis family. If you don't know the Davis family, that's fine. I don't really either. But they had not that long ago talked to the Pohlads of possibly buying the Twins. They're a really rich Minnesota family. I think they're valued about 1.7 billion. So they'd have to probably bring somebody else in, but they could possibly do it. That's one of them. The second one, which I think is maybe the most likely and kind of where I'm thinking right away, is Mark Lowry, Alex Rodriguez,
Yep.
and
that was the first thing that was the first group that came to mind for me,
because they are just losing out on they might be losing out on this Timberwolves buyout after all this time. So give Alex Rodriguez a way to get back into baseball by buying this team. And so for me, that was kind of a possibility. That's like the most likely one for me, is I could see them doing that. But I could also see a way in which they buy the Timberwolves and then go and buy the Twins also, and they just kind of own both of them. Mm-hmm. I could see that being a thing, kind of turning the Twins and Timberwolves in like co-business, like co-working together, basically under one entity. And so I could see that. So I think that's like the most logical one for me. The third one is another one that's kind of in Minnesota, which is the Wilfs. The Minnesota Vikings owners possibly going and buying the Twins. I've heard that. I don't think they have the capital to buy. They need to get a second person in there. I think they need to get 2 more people in there to help buy it. But the Wilfs would be possible for one. And then finally, one that I heard that I thought would be a really intriguing one is our first out of area person, Mark Cuban.
Sure.
He's had an interest in buying baseball team for a very long time. He's tried to buy plenty of MLB teams, not just the Dallas area, but everywhere else. Yeah. And I think the Twins possibly could be that team for him to go and buy and take over. Yep. But with him possibly already kind of being done with the Mavericks, does he want to go and now take on another team like that? We're not done with the Mavericks, but he's taking a low.
Yeah, I still to this day don't fully understand he doesn't technically own them anymore, but he still has like a licensing. I'm not even sure like what the technicalities of it are, because he still is clearly present in their space, but he doesn't. I don't think I think I'm not exactly sure. It was this sort of weird thing where he like detached from some responsibilities, but is still like present in the. I'm not entirely sure. He didn't sell his share. I don't believe he did.
I don't think so. I don't know what it was like. I still don't truly understand it. But that is one name I've heard, but just because Mark Cuban has been wanting to get into baseball for a while, wanting to buy a baseball team for a while. So this could be his opportunity to do that. And the best thing about that is Mark Cuban wants to win.
Yep.
And so that would be a really cool person to bring in, because he'd be wanting to compete and he'd be wanting to go all out for a championship.
Yep.
So that'd be interesting there. Another name I have heard float around that I don't think is going to happen, or I doubt it will happen, but I've heard it floating around is Jeff Bezos. Possibly getting into sports and buying a team, but I don't know if he'd actually do that. And I don't know if I'd want him to do that, because I don't know if he'd really care about the Twins if he did that. But I have heard that name flying around as well. But those are the names I've heard. To me, the most likely one, and I think the most probable one at this point early on, is the Rodriguez, Lowry, and Bloomberg tandem.
Yep.
I think they're the most likely. But That's just my thought at this point. I'd love to see A-Rod do that. But then he'd be the owners of us on the field and off the field. So, that would be a little frustrating. But but yeah. So, as the Yankees fan, I know Andrew's got that joke.
No, you are right in that it's I think logistically it makes the most sense, and then I think also like I forget. So I looked at it. So A-Rod, him and his like group are, I think they're 36% owners of the Timberwolves. I Bleav that's the correct amount. But and obviously, they've done a great job with that since. I forget exactly what year they took over ownership. I want to say it was like 2019. Was it 2019? Zach, am I making up that?
What was what?
When A-Rod got his share.
Yeah, I think that sounds right.
Okay. But they've obviously done a great job over there. And so I think, naturally that does make sense because you stay in market. It's a sport that he's played before. Obviously Mark Cuban, I think, would get the most press. It would kind of be the most, it would make for the most kind of interesting discussion for the first week after it happened, I think. But I think A-Rod and Lori kind of feel like the most sort of just natural kind of fit. And then he'd be really committing because usually, anyone who anyone who kind of owns multiple kind of things, like Kroenke with the Nuggets and the Avalanche, for example, that is, Rooney. I forget? I don't follow hockey at all, Zach. Do the Rooneys also own the Penguins?
You're asking a guy who's ever watched a game of hockey.
True. That's true. Stupid question. But no, the Kroenkes, he owns both the Nuggets and the Avalanche. That's your thing. That is what you do. So A-Rod, he would sports ownership would essentially become his full-time job. And I'm assuming that obviously he would still, that he wouldn't, if he were to buy the Twins, I'm assuming that would not have any sort of implication on this kind of passion for broadcasting, which, by the way, I was just talking about this with someone the other day. I don't know about you, Zach. I think the A-Rod, Ortiz, Jeter, kind of triple on Fox, I think they're excellent. I kind of entered that sort of saga with a very kind of neutral perspective. I'm going to see what happens. But I think they've done a great job so far. They come across as very just genuine, and sometimes I don't love it. There are a lot of kind of former players who do that kind of stuff that I don't think are very good at all, and I do kind of think they just kind of take the former player's perspective only, and they kind of drive it into the ground in a way that is not super cogent and not really sort of analytical, and is almost too based in anecdote. But I think they do an awesome job, and so I'm assuming that if A-Rod got to the Twins, that I would hope that he would still do that. But if he didn't, then I would understand, because if you own two teams, that is it, especially if it's in the same area. Because I don't know about you, Zach, and you're a fan of both teams. If you own them both in the same area, you kind of just don't become an owner. You kind of become a community figure, which I'm assuming would be something that you, as someone who's from that area and loves those teams, would be, receptive to, I would think.
Yeah, no. I don't know. It is tough, but yeah, no, I agree. I agree with you 100%. I want it to be somebody. I kind of do want to be somebody from the area that knows this team. But on the other hand, I want someone who's going to get there, go in there, and make an instant impact, and get this team that actually wants a winning team and not just a team that's going to make money. I think
right.
So. Cuban would be an option. The only reason I don't be okay with Cuban is because I know he'd go in and he'd make sure that the Twins won. We wouldn't be worried about how much money to spend. He'd just want to make sure the Twins won.
Yeah.
So Cuban's definitely one that I'd be okay with. However, I would like it to be probably that Lori Rodriguez, the Wilfs, the Lori Rodriguez, the Wilfs, or possibly some other Minnesota family or whatever. But yeah. That would probably be that's where I'm at. I don't want, like, I've heard also, I don't want like an outside, like Jeff Bezos. I wouldn't have any, like, I don't think I really want Jeff Bezos taking over the Twins. I don't think Bezos, like, does he have the money? Absolutely. But like, I don't think Jeff Bezos cares about the Twins, or cares about baseball in general. So I doubt I'd want that. But yeah, I don't know. But I'm really excited about it though. I'm really excited about. I'm excited to see what the future of this looks like, and obviously, you know, with the Timberwolves possibly being bought by a new ownership group, and then the Twins possibly now too. It'd be a really cool kind of era and a new era in Minneapolis. Besides the Wilfs, but I think the Wilfs are amazing, so I love the Wilfs. But we all love the Wilfs in Minneapolis. But so no, I'd be okay. Like the Wilfs, absolutely. I would love to see the Wilfs. I'd love to see. But to me, I'm really hoping it's Lori and Rodriguez. Like, I'm really hoping they do that, and then they go buy the Timberwolves, and then they create like their own media station that like broadcasts both teams on one station, and then we just do that instead of doing whatever we're doing with the MLB right now. That'd be cool. Having like our own like little media, our own media station basically that broadcast games. But we'll see. But I'm excited.
That's a very, very, very fascinating storyline to follow. And obviously, I mean, it will realistically, we're going to be doing check-ins on this every episode, essentially going forward until the new.
And like, let's be honest here, like the Orioles. So the Orioles old owners announced they were selling their team, and they sold it within like 3 months. Like, this could be a really fast developing thing in the terms of like, in the next couple of months, this team could be sold.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. We'll see though. I don't know. It's really gonna come down to how does this work. But I'm excited to see I'm excited to see how this goes.
We'll probably have a very fleshed out idea on who the top suitors really are. Probably, honestly, by the end of the month, if not a little sooner, and then just
I know there'll probably be teams that announce. There'll probably be people that announce who's interested pretty quickly. There'll be people that announce interest pretty quickly. So we'll see how this goes. Again, I think the Lori Tanner is kind of where I'm leaning, where I want it to go, but we'll see. Big Mark Lori fan over here. The big Mark Lori and big A-Rod guy here. So. Mark Lori is that dude. Mark Lori is that dude. So no. But
if it's Mark Cuban, they should go on Shark Tank and pitch the Twins.
Isn't Mark Cuban leaving Shark Tank? I think Mark Cuban left Shark Tank.
I know that some of them, I forget.
Mark Cuban left Shark Tank. Mark Cuban's officially like, this was his last season.
This was his last season. Oh, they missed the.
I know.
Oh, that would have been the best episode.
That would have been awesome. But no, I'm excited. We'll see how this goes. But no, I'm excited to talk to you about this more. But that is that.
That's that for that, as Zach would say.
I do say that, Anders. I do say that. That's that for that.
I have that written down somewhere. I'm pretty sure that's like one of your things.
I feel like I have a whole quote book at this point. I feel like I do have like.
We gotta start writing. We have too many fun sayings on this show to not just have a whole catalog.
But the most important news, another really important piece of news, Anders, for you here.
Yes.
The Mets and the Yankees are the first two teams that punched their spots to the championship series.
Yep.
Your original thoughts here, Anders, in terms of just, this team's, obviously I know you know both of these teams really well. So I would love to know your thoughts right now on each of these teams and what chances do you think they have of actually winning the whole thing.
So obviously, and I saw this was a tweet that was going around today, and I think it nails it. I think a Subway Series World Series in the social media, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, X era would break the internet. It would break the entire internet would just kind
of. And by the entire internet, we literally mean just the internet of New York. And then everyone else would just be so upset that it is New York, and then you get the Subway Series as a World Series final.
By the way, if that were to happen, like every 90% of the country will be rooting for the Mets, basically.
Can we all agree that the MLB is just rooting for the Dodgers tonight, and then they're just rooting for, they don't really care who wins the Tigers Guardians series. They just are like, let's let it be Yankees versus either. Because if it's Yankees Dodgers, amazing for the MLB. If it's Yankees Mets, it's amazing for the MLB. So like at this point, they're just like, how do we pay the to make sure the Yankees win the ALCS? That's really what the MLB is thinking.
I think I've always taken the very strong stance. I think the take that I've always had is that I think within sports media that is idiosyncratic to baseball, the Yankees and Dodgers bias is about 50-50, I would say. I think
the Yankees Dodgers, you said?
Yeah, I think Yankees Dodgers. Yeah, I think in baseball specific media, the bias between Yankees and Dodgers is about 50-50. I think in national media, it's like 90% Dodgers because Shohei, because of his uniqueness, is so easy to talk about and so easy to kind of say things about him that you can generate headlines for. And so I think they get, a lot of kind of flack there, and they've obviously won a World Series more recently, so it's more fresh. I predicted on the show, as you guys know, for the Padres to sweep the Dodgers. Obviously, that has not happened. We're in Game 5, so it's literally the opposite, quite frankly. But I want your opinion on that series, Zach, because I kind of this was the losses that the Dodgers have essentially outside of the Teoscar Hernandez home run have essentially looked down to the second, like exactly how I thought they would look, which is just this kind of onslaught where like the starting pitching is just brutal. And like Clayton Kershaw scores an outless 6 runs in an inning. I think that's what it was. And like that first, like Yamamoto was just brutal. It's gone down to essentially exactly what I thought it would look like. Now they haven't won every game, and obviously in the bullpen game, obviously they were much better because they didn't have to put out any of their starters, and I think they realized that. I forget who's going tonight, but I think
it's Yamamoto. It's Yamamoto versus Darvish.
Okay, so then I think the Dodgers are cooked. Then I think
the Dodgers are cooked. I think they're cooked, and I'm also going to say this. I'm going to make a prediction. The Guardians are cooked tomorrow because Tariq Skubal is being sent out for Game 5. The Guardians are cooked. The Guardians are cooked for tomorrow. It's over for the Guardians, man. There is no way. And yes, the Guardians sending out Matthew Boyd, who's installed himself, but no one's beating Tariq Skubal. I am just saying that now.
No.
So no, I'm gonna say very simply, I think Padres win tonight on the back of a really good Yu Darvish performance, and then on the back of I think the offense gets in check this week, and I think they get to Yamamoto.
And the bullpen, the Padres bullpen has been unbelievable.
It really has, except for yesterday. It was not that great, but they all sang out like the
yesterday was great, but then again, like Cease was bad too. That was just an off day in general. The bullpen,
I don't see that happening again.
No.
I don't see it happening again. I think the Padres win tonight. And then, man, I will say I do believe in the fact that the Guardians bullpen is so good that they might be able to hold they might be able to hold that one out if Matthew Boyd can hold the Tigers to no runs. They might be able to hold that one out while Scooble's still playing. But that game tomorrow is going to be a lot closer, I think, than this game will be tonight. That is my
I think you're right, yeah.
But the freaking pitching duels in that freaking Guardians Tigers series have been nuts.
Yeah.
Like, it's been like, has any team in that series scored over 5 runs? I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, Guardians scored 7 in the first. Guardians scored 7 in the first game. But besides that, it's been 3-0, 3-0, 5-4. So it's just, it's crazy.
The Yankees series was also a very low-scoring affair on the whole.
A lot more low-scoring than I assumed, but I also look at the Royals rotation, and I'm like, that team is, and that team is, that pitching staff for the Royals is insane.
No, they put up a great fight. They were a worthy opponent. The first game, Yankees won 6-5. Then you have 4-2 Royals, 3-2 Yankees, 3-1 Yankees. So, Rodon, started hot, got shaky, striking out the side in the first inning, which was awesome to watch. And then I thought Clark Schmidt in last night was outstanding. I thought that his knuckle curve was just crisp and beautiful and outstanding. And I thought the sweeper was there too. Clay Holmes was brilliant. Luke Weaver has just completely transformed himself. From a kind of throw out there to get a couple innings bullpen guy, not even bullpen as a starter, just to kind of get a 4 innings just because he can starter for Cincinnati into like the closer for a team in the ALCS. It's a total transformation. It's been really cool to watch, and it's a great testament to the Yankees development staff.
What about Kirk Cousins' cousin?
Yes. Surprising. Yeah. See, there's the Minnesota connection. It all just kind of makes sense. You have the Kirk O'Chains kind of just genetics sort of running through the Bronx at rampant. That's why they're clutch. Even when he doesn't pitch, he just kind of hangs out there, and then everyone kind of just gets it. So
Is he even on the roster?
He was for this series. I'm not sure if he will be for this upcoming series.
Okay, he did pitch 1.1 innings versus the Royals. Okay, that's fair. He only pitched 1.1 innings. Andrews, I do have one last question for you here. It's not baseball related. It's off baseball. It's football related here.
Okay.
Which we usually put on Nerds in Sports, but this one I don't really feel like would be a great Nerds in Sports topic. I'm actually just curious to hear it from you. The Hassan Reddick stuff. His agency just fired him today.
Yeah.
And Hassan Reddick. Your thoughts on this Hassan Reddick stuff and that stuff? Do you know anything about it? Obviously, I know you're a Jets fan. So, do you know anything about Do you know a lot about this?
So, I just as an update, my Vikings hat has been shipped.
Ooh, okay, good.
So I'll pay my dues, guys. Don't worry. A bet is a bet. But no, I mean, I think it makes a ton of sense. I mean, he has lost $5 million in NFL mandated fines and $4 million in game checks. So it's $9 million in checks in cash that he has lost by deciding to not play or participate in anything having to do with the Jets, which to me, at that point, to me, that comes across like for him, like it's not a money thing. Like it's not a money problem. It's a Jets problem. Because if it was about the money, like at this point, like the amount of money that he's lost, $9 million a year. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, and I know a lot of it is like depending on how it's like structured, but $9 million I think is more. It's more in fines than the boost that he would make per year if he like signed it's more like than going from the contract that he has now than the contract that he wants. I'm pretty sure that that's true. So it can't be about the money at this point. I think that the agency kind of firing him and so I think that that's a testament that what this was kind of discussed as before is not what this is transformed into. And I think maybe, the things that he came to them about in terms of like, hey, like this is what I want out of this deal and this is what I want out of being here, that's clearly changed. The exact specifics of that, I'm sure we'll get more specific reporting on that in the next 24 hours. But really just bizarre and does not paint Hassan in a good light in any capacity, I think.
Yeah, no, it doesn't look good. Like, I mean, he's set to lose $21 million this year if he holds out the rest of the season. Like $21.75 million, and his base salary is like $14.25. Like, does he even have the money to lose $21 million? That's the real question.
Right.
And like, dude, what is like? I don't even know. Like, this is insane.
It's bizarre.
Like, and it's not like the Jets have the right to him next season as well. So like at this point, like, what are you trying to accomplish here? I don't know what he's even trying to accomplish. Like, he's not going to get paid any more than this now because he signed up for 5 games.
Yeah.
So he's not going to get. I don't know what I don't understand what he's trying to accomplish.
Right.
But it's like I don't know what he's trying to accomplish at this point. It's like it's so intriguing and it's almost like scary. But I don't know. It's just weird. I don't know.
I'm very curious to see what the next 24 hours look like in terms of like the agency and what statements are made and things like that.
Yeah, I haven't seen if there even is a statement yet made. So I don't think there is. So I'm curious to see the whole thing here on the Sunreg stuff, but I don't know. It's intriguing. It's intriguing, and I'm curious to see how this ends. Like, I don't know how this ends. I don't even know how this ends at this point.
That's the problem. Like you would just mention this, and like the point was like the kind of direct objective of this has now kind of been murkied up a little bit. And the sort of like discourse of like, if you do this, this happens. And if you do that, that happens. That's kind of been flummoxed now to a certain extent. And so it's kind of hard to see what makes this end. So I'm not sure if this makes him more likely to sign or less likely to sign. But now I think it's sort of made, and maybe there's a little bit of a bias here because I am a Jets fan, but I do think that now Hassan is kind of put more in where he kind of looks like the unreasonable one instead of the Jets.
Now I agree. Then final thing, Anders, is a weird question. I feel like I should know this as a sports fan. When does like the actual NBA regular season start? When is the opening night?
I believe our opening night is October 23rd.
October 23rd. Okay, thank you. That's all I want to know. I saw, but no, it's insane. Is Malik Neighbors playing this week? Have you heard?
I think he is. On fantasy, it says he is, so he must be. God, I hope he is.
It said he was out in one of my leagues, but
okay.
Yeah, Giants 6 hours ago, Giants ruled out Malik Neighbors for Sunday night game against the Bengals.
Okay, well, I got to deal with that. Can't go to 4-2, guys. Come on. It's ridiculous.
But he was out partying at the Travis Scott concert
Yeah,
last night on the concussion protocol. So shout out to him.
Shout out, yeah.
But anyway, well, Anders, this has been fun. I always enjoy this. Would you appreciate and would you like to do the sign out?
I would love to do the sign off. Yeah, no, this was good. A very, if I was extremely busy yesterday. If I wasn't, then the Pollard stuff would be more of an emergency episode kind of format. But now that we've had 24 hours, it's a little bit more digested. But I would love to send this off into the weekend after I take this sip of water.
Fair.
To hydrate my voice, and now I'm good to go. Guys, this has been episode 20. Can't believe we've made it this far of the Bleav in Twins podcast on the Bleav Network. Alongside Zac Tipton, I have been Anders Pryor. You can download all of our content and all other Bleav content that you guys enjoy on the BleavNetwork.com website. You can listen to all of our content on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever else you consume your sports media throughout the week. If you're watching this on YouTube and I see you, or I'm looking into your eyes right now, I'm watching, I see you. Subscribe and turn on post notifications. I'm looking at you. Go do it. I'm checking in. All right. Subscribe, turn on post notifications. Go Twins. Go Timberwolves. Go Vikings. You know what? I actually know. Go Yankees is not appropriate for this show. I'll put a Go Mets in there for you, though. I feel like that's pretty universally digestible.
Yeah, it is. It is. And go Padres tonight because no one likes the Dodgers.
Yeah, rooting. I gotta come clean. I'm rooting. Zac, great to see you as always. We will see you guys on Monday. Signing off. Good to see you, Zac.
Good to see you.